Hi. So in my last video, I talked about BIG-IP HA high availability load balancing to Cilium Pod. So this time I'm going to give you an update. So from this this diagram architecture, the CIS, the container ingress services, is responsible for updating static Pod ARP address to the BIG-IP. So when you deploy a Kubernetes ingress or config map, the CIS will update the config map or ingress services pod ARP address to the BIG-IP. Basically add a static ARP address for the pod on the BIG-IP. So this video, I make some improvement, like because I have to patch this CIS to add the Cilium Pod ARP address on the BIG-IP. The official CIS release does not have this function. So that make me think, what if the ARP address can be dynamically updated on the BIG-IP, like using the normal ARP request, ARP reply. So for example, if when BIG-IP want to reach to Cilium Pod, if BIG-IP can send ARP broadcast to all the node, all the Cilium node, and for the pod, and then when a Cilium node see ARP broadcast for a pod, that the pod IP address is local pod for on this load, then this node will send the ARP reply to the BIG-IP, say this pod MAC address is here on this node. Basically, kind of like a proxy ARP reply. So what is the MAC address going to be? It's going to be the Cilium VXLAN interface on the Cilium node. That's the interface. That's the MAC address of the interface. So if we go to the Cilium data path here, so here is a Cilium data path for ingress. When a VXLAN packet reach to the Cilium node, say the ARP broadcast from the BIG-IP encapsulated and reach to the Cilium node, it will first get into the Cilium node physical interface here. So the physical interface has a from and a to NetDev BPF program attached. And so this encapsulated ARP broadcast packet will go through the Cilium node Linux kernel stack, and the Linux kernel has VXLAN driver. That's the driver VXLAN.c. That's the Linux kernel VXLAN driver. That driver receive the encapsulated ARP broadcast packet. It will decapsulate the packet, and then the packet will reach to Cilium VXLAN interface. So this Cilium VXLAN interface, it has from and to overlay a BPF program attached. So since this is the ingress packet, so the from overlay BPF program will be triggered to process the ARP broadcast. So at this point, we can do a ARP reply for the pod IP, because we don't want to every ARP broadcast to reach to the pod, and then each pod send the ARP reply. We don't need to go further to the pod. We can just do the ARP reply here on this interface. So we will use the MAC address of this interface as the to represent the pod ARP address, to represent all the pod ARP address on this Cilium node. So the code we are going to implement is going to be in the from overlay BPF program. So we can do an ARP reply here to send the ARP reply. So this is the proposal I sent it to the Cilium community to suggest the idea, and this is my code, the draft code to implement that ARP reply. So as you can see here, in the front overlay, that's the BPF program attached to the Cilium VXLAN interface for the ingress packet. And previously, there is no ARP processing. So here, I label the, once we see it's ARP packet, ARP request packet, we can call the ARP reply function. And here is the ARP reply function to handle the ARP request, and just maybe 20 or less code lines here to implement that function. So yeah, I want to. So this patch actually also depend on the previous feature request, like enable Cilium Tunnel VXLAN connectivity to VXLAN device, basically to have the tunnel connectivity between BIG-IP and the Cilium VXLAN, so that the ARP reply is based on this feature. And yeah, so I can do a quick demo here. So this is my BIG-IP. Okay, it's a standby. It's a pair, HA's pair. So this is active BIG-IP. So as you can see, right now I don't have a dynamic ARP address for Cilium Pod. This is a node. So this is my Cilium node, a master node. I have a BD-box pod here and F5 Hello World app pod IP address here. So none of them has ARP address here right now. So none of them are here. And so I already deployed the CIS, the official CIS release. So the CIS, the official CIS release right now will not be able to update the static pod ARP address on the BIG-IP, because the official CIS release is not attached to add the static ARP for the pod. So but the official CIS release will still add the FTP entry for the Cilium node. So for example, for the ARP broadcast to work, we still needed the Cilium node FTP entry, which the official CIS release, CIS release version is able to do that once the CIS pod is started. And so we can see here, show net FTP. So that's the FTP entry for the Cilium node. I have two Cilium nodes here. So the FTP entry already populated by the CIS, but no static ARP address, right, for the pod. So the static ARP MAC address only added when you deploy a config map or ingress for official CIS release. So right now, I don't want to deploy a config map or ingress because the official CIS release version will add the static ARP for the pod once you deploy the config map or ingress. So we don't want to do that here. So right now we don't have a ingress or config map deployed in the cluster. Okay, so no ingress, no config map monitored by the CIS. So how do we get a ARP address for the pod on the BIG-IP? Since I already deployed the Cilium that has the ARP reply function. So right now, if I only just do a ping request to the Cilium pod. So let's say the BiGBox pod IP address. Then we should see our ARP broadcast to the Cilium node, and then the Cilium node should have sent ARP reply. So here on the Cilium node, I run a TCP down on the Cilium VXLAN interface, since we are going to send the ARP reply from this interface. And yeah, so let's do a ping request. Okay, so as you can see here, we got a ISMP reply back, so the network is working. And if we look at the TCP down here on the Cilium VXLAN interface, this is the ARP request. So this is the ARP reply, and it says this pod IP address is at this MAC address, and this MAC address is the Cilium VXLAN interface MAC address 6B86, right? So 6B86, right? So that's the Cilium VXLAN interface will send the ARP reply for all the pod on this local Cilium node, and we solve this ARP broadcast. So we solve this problem. This is on active, or this is on standby. We should have a dynamic ARP address record for the pod. So this is a pod IP, and this is a MAC address, and so this is a dynamic ARP record. So if it's a static, it will show static here. I think it will show a static here, but This is dynamic ARP address. We can do that on the active unit. So we don't have ARP address now. Dynamic ARP address. If we ping, what's the 52? Okay, so the network is also reached, and this is another ARP request from the active BIG-IP. This is the reply, and so that's we have this dynamic ARP address resolved. Okay, so we have this feature labeled. Now let's deploy in the Kubernetes cluster. Let's deploy config map, and we should see the services pod ARP address being resolved on the BIG-IP, and so we should see more ARP address for Cilium Pod. Okay, so this is a two new pod IP address and the MAC address resolved. They all have the same MAC address. That's the Cilium VXLAN interface MAC address. Since those three pods are from the same Cilium node. Okay, so and this too is the Nginx Hello World app, and we can send. So this is okay. We can go to here partitions. AS3, so that's the config map virtual server on the BIG-IP. That's deployed here, right? And LTM pool. So that's the Hello World app pod. And we can send a request to the virtual. So that's the virtual IP on the BIG-IP. We can send to this virtual, and we got a Hello World app pod reply. Okay. So yeah, so this, in summary, this feature, I actually opened. I opened an issue here in the CIS GitHub. Just to track the, so here just I documented the setup here. So with these two Cilium feature implemented, we can achieve the tunnel collectivity with dynamic ARP function, and so. Here, when you set up, so for the ARP reply to work, here you need so previously, if we don't have the ARP reply feature, when you created the VXLAN on the BIG-IP, the flooding type is long. So this is like for no ARP request, just add a static ARP. So there's no ARP request, so flooding type is long. But for ARP reply, but if you want to send ARP request from BIG-IP, you needed to change the VXLAN profile flooding type to multi-point. And then in this setup, the BIG-IP will send up broadcast. Okay, and the key is the same. You need use a VNI key and a self-IP on the VXLAN. So everything else is the same, except when you set up the VXLAN profile, the flooding type, is multi-point for up or broadcast. That's the difference. So I documented here, and yeah. Okay, hope I make it clear, and thank you for watching.